A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I want A+ English because it's so much fun. English education for you and everyone, so come along. Learn some grammar, learn a phrase, learn something new every day. Learn the A+ way. Hey, it's time to start the show. Are you ready? Good, 'cause here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I want A+ English.
Hi everyone and welcome to A+ English. I'm Erin.
And I'm Mike.
And we are back with our culture shock article.
Culture shock, when we're surprised by the culture of a new land or place or country. Well, we all experience it when we travel.
That's right.
I think I still experience culture shock once in a while.
Sometimes in Taiwan, yeah.
Or when I go back home to Canada, I experience culture shock. One thing I always notice, in Canada, everything closes early.
That is true.
Right? Except on the weekend. But in Taiwan, you can get food anytime. In Canada, after 7 p.m., not a lot of choices. That's culture shock.
Yeah, I feel like it is.
For sure.
All right, well, our culture shock article today talks about taking public transportation.
Ah, okay.
So buses,
subways, trains, things like that. All right.
Well, let's find out what happens to our characters.
Ooh, okay.
Culture shock!
On the bus.
Simon and Lucia are waiting at the bus stop.
I'm glad we catch the same bus to work every morning.
Yes, it's fun traveling across the city with you.
Here's our bus.
Wow, it's so crowded.
The bus stops at another stop to let more people on.
I can't believe the driver is letting more people on.
The bus driver tells people to move back.
Please move to the back of the bus.
People move.
That's better.
I used to catch the bus when I lived in Canada. The driver wouldn't stop when the bus was too full. It was for safety reasons, but sometimes I was late to work.
What happens when too many people try to get on at one stop?
The bus driver asks them to wait for the next bus.
A few people get off the bus, and Simon has more space at last. Word power!
Glad. Glad. The test was difficult, and I'm so glad I passed it. The test was difficult, and I'm so glad I passed it. Catch. 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 Caught. Caught. I need to leave the house soon to catch the plane on time. I need to leave the house soon to catch the plane on time. Crowded. Crowded. The MRT gets crowded when something interesting happens in the city. The MRT gets crowded when something interesting happens in the city. Safety. Safety. The city puts some new lights on the street for everyone's safety. The city puts some new lights on the street for everyone's safety.
All right, we start out with a scenario in our article today. We find out where Simon and Lucia are. It says, Simon and Lucia are waiting at the bus stop. And Lucia starts our conversation today. She says, I'm glad we catch the same bus to work every morning.
Oh, that's nice. So they get to they get to spend some time together on the bus, going to work and maybe even coming home in the evening. I can see why she's happy about this.
That's right. We did say she was glad. And we're going to find out what that means in a second. You might have already figured it out. It's an adjective. It's spelled G-L-A-D, glad. Let's find out now. We are talking about the adjective glad here. Now, when you feel happy or pleased about something, you are glad. So, for example, I'm always glad when it's Friday afternoon because it means the weekend is here. It makes me feel really happy. Here's an example sentence. The test was difficult, and I'm so glad I passed it. The test was difficult, and I'm so glad I passed it.
Well, I'm very glad you passed your test too.
Thank you.
And we had another word there. Our second word power word for today is catch. This is a verb and it's spelled C-A-T-C-H, to catch. Now, of course, the most obvious thing that we catch is something that somebody throws. If someone throws you a ball, you catch the ball. But here, of course, we're not catching a bus. You'd have to be Superman to catch a heavy thing like a bus. No, to catch a bus or catch a train, catch a plane, that means you are there and you get on because you want to travel on that thing to somewhere. So as long as you get to the bus stop or the train station or the airport before that bus, train, or airplane leaves, you buy your ticket, you get on, you sit down or whatever, and then they go. You have caught, this is the past tense, you have caught that bus, train, or airplane. Yes, catch is one of those irregular verbs, so you don't put an ED on the end. It's caught, catch, caught, caught, C-A-U-G-H-T. But you're there, the bus or whatever arrives, you pay, you get on, and then off you go. You have caught that bus or that train or plane. For example, I need to leave the house soon to catch the plane on time. I need to leave the house soon to catch the plane on time. Hurry, go, go. All right, so that's nice. They can leave the house and go and catch the same bus together every morning.
That's right. And you know what? Simon likes this too. He says, yes, it's fun traveling across the city with you.
Sure, if you can travel with someone you know, you don't have to feel bored on the bus or bring a book or anything. You can chat with them on your way to work. So then we see something happen in our story. There's a picture and it shows a bus arrive. So here's the bus. And, ooh, it is really crowded with people. If something's crowded, it just means there's a lot of people in a small space.
Right.
This is fairly normal in the morning. They'll have to squeeze on and probably will have to stand up for most of the trip.
That's
but anyways, they have to go.
So Lucia says, here's our bus.
There you go.
And
so they're going to catch this bus.
Yeah, and we see in the next picture, they almost can't get on the bus because it's so full. But they just about manage it. So they do get on the bus, but maybe they have to push a little bit.
Excuse me.
Right. I have had to do that on the bus here. All right, well, Simon says, wow, it's so crowded. He is right. And what we mean by this adjective crowded here, we'll find out in a second. Let's spell it first. It's spelled C-R-O-W-D-E-D, crowded. Let's find out what it means. A place or a thing that's crowded is very full of people or of things. So we could talk about a place like a restaurant. If you go to a restaurant, but all the tables are full and there are other people waiting and there's nowhere to sit in the restaurant and the waiter says, no, you might have to come back in an hour, then you can say that that restaurant is very crowded. There are a lot of people there. Here's another example of where that might happen. The MRT gets crowded when something interesting happens in the city. The MRT gets crowded when something interesting happens in the city. You might see an example of this on New Year's Eve when all of the people are going home on the trains or the MRT from watching the fireworks at the 101. All right, so they are kind of pushing their way, they're elbowing their way, we might say, onto their bus, but they make it happen.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty lucky in the morning to not find a bus or an MRT, a subway, or even a train crowded, because of course lots of people are traveling all at the same time. But anyways, the bus still has to go on, and oh no, it looks like even though the bus is crowded now, it's about to get even more crowded, because the next thing we read is the bus stops at another stop to let more people on. Yeah, rarely will the bus kind of go by and not stop because it's too crowded. Usually they stop and they try to squeeze more people in there. So
Everyone
Simon,
gets very
very crowded now. So Simon is noticing this. He thinks maybe the bus should just drive on and make those people wait for the next one. So he says, I can't believe the driver is letting more people on. He's kind of saying there's no space on the bus now.
Where are they going to go?
And he wants to put more people in here? What is he, crazy?
Well, all right, and we can see that the driver, she says, please move to the back of the bus. Well, so maybe the bus was crowded, but there was still some space that people weren't standing in. And
that's right.
the bus driver says, nope, there's room for more people. Get back there.
All right, so the people being a little bit helpful and not having a lot of choice, it says the people move. So you squish even closer together. There's that little space there. You might step in there to let someone else take your space. And so finally, Simon finds himself more of a comfortable position or somewhere where he's not, for example, standing right in front of the doors. That's not a good place to stand. So he says, that's better. We say that's better when we've gone from sort of a not so good situation to a better situation. If you were cold and now you're warming up, that's better. Or if you were thirsty and you've had a good drink of water, that's better. I feel better. My situation is improving.
Yeah, that's a good feeling when you're thirsty.
Well, that's the best.
First drink of water, you immediately feel better. While they're talking on the bus, they're talking about what life was like in other places that they've lived. So Lucia says, I used to catch the bus when I lived in Canada.
Yes, we have buses in
That
Canada.
is true, yes.
That's true, like lots of other places.
Now, what we mean by the phrase I used to is that this was something you did in the past. Now, it sounds like we're saying use, U-S-E, but there's actually a D on that word. So if you write this phrase, don't forget to include that D. I used to catch the bus.
Yeah, that's right. The D and the T and to kind of become the same. You could say I used to catch the bus, but mostly you just sort of mix
Put them
those
together.
I used to catch the bus. But you're right, there is a D there, don't forget that. And Lucia is kind of talking about what the buses would do in the same situation in Canada. If it was really busy, if it was really crowded. Lucia says the driver wouldn't stop when the bus was too full. That's right. They might kind of slow down and let you see that the bus is full, but then they would drive on and people would go, oh, okay, I guess the next one is the one we'll catch.
Hopefully.
They don't want to squeeze too many people in there because I guess it's uncomfortable, it could be dangerous
And you know what?
things like that.
I don't know about, I know in Taiwan, the seats in Taiwan on the buses have seat belts, but in Canada,
that's true.
not always.
Don't.
So
That's
it
a
might
good
be
point.
more dangerous to have more people on the bus. All right, so we see in the next picture here, Lucia is actually having a thought. She's remembering waiting at a bus stop as a full bus passes by. So while she's talking about this, she's also thinking about it. We can see that in the picture. And she explains why this happened. It was for safety reasons, but sometimes I was late to work. And then, of course, we also see that her memory ends there in the picture. All right, so we found out that the reason the full bus would keep driving is for safety reasons.
That's important.
So safety is a noun. It's spelled S-A-F-E-T-Y, safety. Well, let's find out what it means. Okay, we are talking about the noun safety here. Now, safety is the situation when something is safe from harm or danger. So safe, of course, is the adjective form of that word. We add ty to make it a noun. Now, for instance, in Lucia and Simon's conversation, Lucia says the bus won't stop for safety reasons. That means if the bus driver lets more people on, they will not be safe. So he keeps going instead. Here's an example. The city put some new lights on the street for everyone's safety. The city put some new lights on the street for everyone's safety. That's important because things can go really wrong when stuff is in the dark. All right. So.
And we also had that word sometimes. Now this is kind of a word that we use to talk about how often things happen, all right? Similar to never, always, often, usually. Sometimes is kind of in the middle, maybe about 50% of the time. Something you do. Yeah, you do this, but you certainly don't do it a lot or every day or something like that. For example, you might say that, I sometimes see a movie on the weekend. Maybe, once a month or twice a month. Something like that. So it's kind of in the middle. It's not never, but it's not always. It's right in the middle there. So sometimes. All right, back to the article.
All right. Well, Simon is responding to what Lucia is talking about, her experience in Canada.
Yep.
He says, what happens when too many people try to get on at one stop? Good question.
Good question,
yeah. So what happens?
Well, Lucia tells him. She's again remembering what would happen in a situation like this in Canada. So she tells him the bus driver asks them to wait for the next bus. The bus driver might sort of lean out the door or ask the people, sorry, I can only let 2 people on. The rest of you, please wait for the next bus. And he might even tell them there should be one coming in 5 or 10 minutes to give them an idea of how long they have to wait.
Well, of course, that doesn't always help if you're waiting for a bus
or
and
if it's cold and snowing.
Gonna be late for work. Okay, guess you just have to get there earlier. All right, well, we see another scenario here. It says a few people get off the bus and Simon has more space at last.
Finally.
So, some moving space.
There you go. At least he can breathe now and maybe put his bag down or something like that.
All right, well, we have finished with today's article, but we aren't finished with it yet completely. We are going to do today's magic box, come back for review time, and then we'll see you again tomorrow.
Magic Box 找亮点。
Hello， 大家好，我是 Peggy。大家有没有什么特别的习惯啊？比如说，像是我个人来说，我吃晚餐的时候是一定不能没有汤的。I always have at least a bowl of soup at dinner。大家有没有注意到我刚刚用了什么字？没错，就是 always。always 是个频率副词。 它的意思就是总是或是每次都会做某件事情的意思，所以刚刚 I always have a bowl of soup at dinner 就是说我晚餐的时候至少会喝1碗汤，有时候会超过啦。但那像是说我弟弟他通常会在睡前打半个小时的电动，我们就可以说 My brother usually plays video games for half an hour before bed. My brother usually plays video games for half an hour before bed. 这边的 usually 指的就是通常，可能是一个星期里面大概有6天会这么做。这边要注意的就是频率副词在句子当中的位置，要放在一般动词的前面，跟 be 动词和助动词的后面。其他常见的频率副词还包括感觉起来比 usually 再少一点的 often， 它有2种念法，有人会念 often。 有人也会念成 often， 2个念法都是对的，不要太紧张。再来还有就是 sometimes， 就是说有时候、偶尔，或者是你要说非常非常少、几乎不会发生的状况，我们就可以用 seldom。那跟 always 总是这个字相反的字，大家应该知道吧？没错，就是 never， 从不。 哎呀，今天学了这么多的频率副词，那赶快来个小测验、小试身手吧。I blank take a taxi to work。如果这个 blank 要说我偶尔会搭计程车上班，空格里面要填入哪个频率副词呢？别走开，答案马上揭晓咯。
The answer is I sometimes take a taxi to work. 你答对了吗？
Wait for it! It's review time! 复习时间到喽！
All right, so for today, we're going to do a little bit of a fill-in-the-blank game for our word power word review. But instead of just leaving a blank, I'm going to give you sort of a description of the word that I'm looking for, like what you'd see in the dictionary. But I won't say the word. So you know me, I love to go to Japan.
Yes.
Traveling to Tokyo is one of my favorite things. And there, well, the subways can be really, really full of many, many people in a crowded space.
Is the
The subways can be really, really full of many, many people in a small space.
So let me guess.
Yes.
This one is crowded.
I gave you a hint
You
because I
did.
thought my description was going on a little too long. So it's very hard when you want to get on a train that arrives at a station that you are interested in traveling on. It's very hard to do that in the Tokyo subway.
I hear another one. Catch.
It's very hard to catch the train or to get on the train that you are waiting for when it arrives at the station. So even though it's crowded, the Japanese subway, I think they still put people's security and health first. So even though it's crowded, I never feel in danger because they're always making sure that my health and I don't
Safety.
get my safety. Exactly. There you go. And that makes me feel pleased and happy.
Oh, well, I would be glad to.
I'm very glad that I feel safe there. They have those guys there who push people.
Push people on.
I've never actually seen that.
I haven't either, but
I try to avoid those stations at those times.
Yes.
Do not go to Shinjuku at rush hour or you might get pushed around.
that doesn't sound like very much fun.
No, not really.
All right, well, we are all finished today. You guys can do this with your friends too. Find some other words in the magazine and try it out. But we'll see you back here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Culture shock!
On the bus.
Simon and Lucia are waiting at the bus stop.
I'm glad we catch the same bus to work every morning.
Yes. It's fun traveling across the city with you.
Here's our bus.
Wow, it's so crowded.
The bus stops at another stop to let more people on.
I can't believe the driver is letting more people on.
The bus driver tells people to move back.
Please move to the back of the bus.
People move.
That's better.
I used to catch the bus when I lived in Canada. The driver wouldn't stop when the bus was too full. It was for safety reasons, but sometimes I was late to work.
What happens when too many people try to get on at one stop?
The bus driver asks them to wait for the next bus.
A few people get off the bus, and Simon has more space at last. Word power!
Glad. Glad. The test was difficult, and I'm so glad I passed it. The test was difficult, and I'm so glad I passed it. Catch. 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 Caught. Caught. I need to leave the house soon to catch the plane on time. I need to leave the house soon to catch the plane on time. Crowded. Crowded. The MRT gets crowded when something interesting happens in the city. The MRT gets crowded when something interesting happens in the city. Safety. Safety. The city puts some new lights on the street for everyone's safety. The city put some new lights on the street for everyone's safety.